It's May 25th, 2012. It's INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm your host, Paul Joseph Watson. Coming up on the show tonight.
Tonight, Paul Joseph Watson speaks with Charlie Skelton about his plans to join thousands at the Bilderberg meeting in Chantilly, Virginia. Plus, the TSA hires a priest with a history of sex abuse with children. Then, Australians face millions in fines for denouncing carbon taxes. All that and more up next, the INFOWARS Nightly News.
Top story tonight, Australians face huge fines for speaking ill of carbon tax. Praised by Barack Obama as a model for the world, Australia's highly unpopular carbon tax, set to take effect from July 1st, is to be policed by laws which forbid business owners from criticizing it for causing price rises, with the thought criminals who do so under threat of being hit with huge fines of over $1 million. And this is out the Daily Telegraph out of Australia. Shops and restaurants could face fines up to $1.1 million if waiters or sales staff wrongly blame the carbon tax for price rises or exaggerate the impact. And so not only are small businesses and consumers in Australia being hit with the knock-on effects from this, because we know the initial scope of the law is to charge the top 500 polluting companies with carbon taxes. That, of course, gets passed on to consumers. They've already got skyrocketing energy rates in Australia as it is, already being hit from all sides. But now they're even bringing it to this level where, for example, you know, if you're a restaurant, your waiter, your cleaner, whoever, if they dare mention that the carbon tax has caused you to rise prices on any kind of different thing that you supply or sell, it's a fine. It's up to $1.1 million fine for heresy against the Australian carbon tax, which just shows you the fangs of green fascism are bearing once again. And they're actually going to enforce this by teams of carbon cops roaming the streets, carrying out snap inspections of businesses looking for infractions, such as sales promotional material that talks about, beat the carbon price rise before July 1st. So they're getting in discounts before that. If you dare mention it, you're slapped with a cool $1 million fine, according to this draconian law. So again, it's the whole tyranny of the carbon tax. It's not just about higher prices. It's about removing free speech, the right to dissent against carbon tax, because criticizing it in Australia is now a heresy. This is the law praised by Barack Obama as a model for the world. Of course, he's doing it through the EPA and shutting down the coal plants. In Australia, they're doing it through the direct carbon tax. And of course, by 2015, this is all going to be rolled into a carbon trading scheme, the likes of which cause farmers in places like Honduras and Uganda to be brutally evicted, turfed off their land by the corrupt governments in those countries in alliance with Western carbon trading companies, because they want the land. It's lucrative. They take the land by force, wipe out huge numbers of people, whole villages, and grow trees on the land and then sell the carbon credits. And of course, if you dare criticize any of it, then now you're going to get fined in Australia. And it's all going straight into the back pockets of Al Gore and Maurice Strong, the very people who own the carbon trading systems, are invested in them. And of course, the very people pushing the myth, the alarmist, scaremongering myth of man-made global warming. So while that Plandopolis is going on in Australia, over in America, we've got this story. Google Trends, fear of bank runs hits all-time high for Americans. According to the latest figures out of Google Trends, Americans have been searching for the term bank run in record numbers over the past couple of weeks, outstripping the level of concern displayed following the collapse of Lehman Brothers in 2008. The search volume index on Google for bank run in the United States region peaked at an all-time record level on May 13th and has hovered around this high ever since. And if you actually go and look at the figures, which I did this morning to compile this article, Americans are more concerned than Greeks about bank runs, which is saying something given the amount of money that's been pulled out of Greek banks over the last few weeks. And of course, numerous financial experts have been saying in recent days what we've been warning about for years, which is the fact that this Eurozone fallout will cause bank runs in not only Greece, but also places like Spain and Portugal, and the contagion will spread. And it's, of course, it's a particular concern for Americans because the FDIC's insurance funds, which are, set aside for bank runs and the like, aren't nearly enough. They're not large enough to cover the kind of contagion expected if bank runs hit the US. Some of you will remember the story from 2010 that we covered, which went viral, about how Citigroup had told its customers they had reserved the right, the bank had reserved the right to impose a 7-day withdrawal hold on all checking accounts. So if you want your money out, tough, you're going to have to wait a week. And they actually told their customers, we reserve the right to impose this at any time of our choosing. And it was, of course, to deal with the likelihood of bank runs. So this issue is very much front and center. We're going to continue to report on it, even though in the past we've been blamed for causing bank runs simply by pointing out that the financial terrorists have created the environment for bank runs. That comes back on us, and we're to blame for it, according to the establishment financial press. But we shall nevertheless continue to cover this story. And in fact, a related story here out of Reuters: police urging Greeks to stop stuffing mattresses. Greece's national police spokesman told Reuters, quote, many people have withdrawn their money from the banks fearing a financial crash, and they either carry it on them, find a hideout at home, or in storage rooms. We urge people to trust the banking system, leave their money there, or at least in a safe place, not hide it at home. So, yes, trust the banking system, just like the MF Global clients trusted John Corzine before their money disappeared in front of their eyes. You can trust, the technocrats. They're nice people. They care about your finances. They're not going to rape and pillage everything as the system collapses, which it already is in the process of doing. So there's the Greek national police spokesman saying, please don't stuff all your money in mattresses. Obviously, people are going to become a target of burglars, as always happens in a rapidly declining economic situation. But the trust in banks is at such a state that people think their mattresses are far more safe, and that's exactly what they're doing. TSA hired accused sex abuse priest, pedophile as screener. It's yet another TSA hires pervert, criminal, pedophile, cross out the relevant section. These stories, of course, we seem to cover them almost every day. A former Catholic police who was defrocked after it was discovered he had sexually abused young girls is now working as a security screener for the TSA, it has been revealed. The CBS 3i team in Philadelphia reports that Thomas Hawkins, a priest in South Jersey until 2002, is now working at a security terminal in Philadelphia International Airport. And this is a guy who, according to the lawsuit, sexually abused this 11-year-old girl on multiple occasions. Maybe he used that as part of his TSA job application because, it sounds crass, but there are YouTube videos where people literally call up TSA recruitment centers and admit to being perverts who want to sexually fondle people. And they're actually treated seriously and with due respect by TSA recruiters on the other end of the line. You can actually go and watch that YouTube clip. So we've documented the fact that they specialize in hiring perverts and criminals. And is it really any surprise? I mean, who else wants to stand there all day groping strangers? Only, mentally disturbed people, egomaniacs, little Hitlers would want this job in the first place. So it's no wonder when they all turn out to be criminals, stealing laptops, jewelry, cash, pedophiles, child molesters, perverts. There's a story almost every other week about guys just walking up to women and flashing their TSA badge before they attack them. It's a criminal class of perverts, as we've documented. They're the perfect role model for other TSA applicants like this guy, this sex abuse priest pedophile. And again, just another reason why this agency needs to be abolished. It's a shame upon America. And now we've got the legislation where airports are perfectly entitled to evict TSA screeners and replace them with private security, which one of the airports in Florida has already done, and another one, Orlando International, looks likely to follow. I mean, it's another perfect example. another pervert in a TSA uniform using his position of power to facilitate his perversions. Another exemplary reason to abolish the TSA. Pentagon contractor admits engaging in dirty tricks against journalists. This is Kurt Nimmo, INFOWARS.com. Camille Shidiak, co-owner of Leone Industries, a Pentagon contractor, has admitted to criminally targeting journalists for reporting on a failed Pentagon propaganda operation. The online misinformation campaign, first reported last month, has raised questions about whether the Pentagon or its contractors had turned its propaganda operations against US citizens. And of course, they recently added the amendment to the new defense bill, which basically authorizes for the first time Pentagon propaganda to be targeted domestically against US citizens. We know that's already been happening for years. I mean, you've only got to look at the fact that the Obama administration is working hand in glove with the Pentagon and Hollywood to reproduce the fabled Bin Laden raid for our screens. It's domestic propaganda. It's been going on for decades, but now they're just in the process of codifying it into law with this new amendment. And this story continues out of Infowars.com. Shidiak used dirty tricks reminiscent of the FBI's COINTELPRO tactics to target the journalists. And these journalists, they weren't even political. They were investigating some mine company corruption or something. But Leone's co-owner created a batch of fake websites, social media accounts, and a fraudulent Wikipedia page in an effort to smear the